Well, I guess today is a two recap kind of day because we just had an explosive short squeeze on MIRA. This stock, which if you recall from my first recap, was up about 267% at around 10:30 in the morning. I took my first trades on it when it was at 92 cents a share, and it just hit a high of $5.48, nearly 700% return in one day. This is absolutely incredible. And you know what's even more interesting? This is what we're going to really talk about today, was the behavior of one seller. Because that one seller all of a sudden put this whole sort of spin on all of the price action today as we watch them move their order around in response to the squeeze on this stock. Okay, so let's jump into it for the second recap. All right, there's the chart. You can see the high, $5.48. And yes, I did trade it. I'm up now $6,185.58. Best exit, $5.17. So I did break a rule. I broke a rule because I came back, even though I gave back almost 50% of my profit, and I knew that I really should be done. This was calling for me and I couldn't say no. And well, as it turns out, it was the right move to come back because boy, this thing just kept going. In fact, I'm curious how many times this halted today. It was dozens of times. So first of all, we're going to talk about this big seller that I saw on the level 2 because it's really fascinating. This pre-market, when I was trading it pre-market, there was nothing really, spectacular about it. It was, it was moving. And I think as you recall from, if you watched my first recap today, I broke the ice on it basically as soon as it popped up on breaking news. I was in on this candle right down here at 92 cents a share. That was my first entry way down there. And it popped up to a high of 94 cents and then it dropped down and actually lost $600 on that first trade. But when it came back up to break over $1, I got back in. And, I had no idea how much higher this thing would go. I actually, in hindsight, one could argue that it sure would be nice if I could just have back, I think it was 10,000 shares plus another 5,000, the 15,000 shares that I had at $1 a share. But let me put it to you a different way. I got in here and I took my profit right into here for, whatever it was, $1,500, $2,000 of profit. That was a nice little trade. And then it came all the way back down to break even. And it could have just as easily gone red. And if it had gone red, I sure would have been disappointed I hadn't taken the profit off the table, right? So it sort of stalled out here, stalled out, and then it curled back up. And when it curled back up, I was happy to get back in it. We had a little bit of a double top formation here. So then we got the cup, and then we got the handle. We got the breakout right here, which gave me a little bit more profit. And I kind of kept trading it as the morning went on. So, I was fine with that. I'm not the type of trader that's just going to buy, walk away, and hope to come back up $3 a share. While it would have been really nice today if that had happened, that's not the way I trade. And I don't think that's a ticket for long-term success. I think in this market, when you have profit, you have to pay yourself. And if another setup forms, then by all means, you can take another trade as you'd like, but you got to be really disciplined about taking profit off the table. So pre-market, initially pops up, sells off, curls back up. That was nice. Pulls back, comes back up. And coming into about this point, it was our leading percentage gapper. It knocked Serve, SERV, off the top spot. So Serve was in first place as our leading gapper this morning. And this was continuing the move that began on Friday with news about NVIDIA taking a stake, but then, kind of rolled over a little bit pre-market, came back up to 14, and then from there, it sold off all day long. So Serve got knocked off the top spot. CMAX, this one did, make a name for itself today a little bit, made its way from $2 a share all the way up to $5, pulled back and up to $6.50. And I didn't trade this one anymore. I suppose I could have, but I didn't. But MIRA was calling my name. This one was very interesting, and it certainly was parabolic. And so one of the things that's worth noting about MIRA was, or is, the halt bands. So let's see. We'll get my pens out here. So let's talk about halts. So circuit breaker halts. This confuses a lot of people. So if a stock was less than 75 cents in the previous trading session, then the halt bands are every 15 cents. Sorry, every 15 cents. So that means if a stock yesterday closed below 75 cents and today it opens at $3, the halt band is going to be 315 and 285. And those are extremely tight halt bands, right? It's only 15 cents up and down. Now, if a stock opens between 75 cents and $3 or closes the previous day, the halt bands are 20%, which means a $3 stock will halt at 360 and 240. Isn't that crazy? So this is what's wild to me about this structure is that it doesn't matter what the current price is. The current price in both examples is $3. But because yesterday's close was below 75 cents, the halt down is 285. This one was 240. And the halt to the upside is 360 or 315. That doesn't make sense. So I would argue that the halt band should be changed to be more dynamic. Stocks above $3 are every 10%. So here we would have, let's see, 270, then 330, 330 going up, and then of course $3 in the middle. Now it's also worth noting that these are the halt bands from 9:30 a.m. until 3. Is it 3:30 or 3:40? Now let's just double check this. So I'm going to pull up a link here. Let's see. Warrior Trading halt bands. So we're just going to double check this link here. All right. So we scroll down here. We will see it's until 3:35. All right. So right in the middle, 3:35. Okay. So from 9:30 until 3:35. And then what's interesting is from 3:35 until 4 p.m., these bands are doubled. So it goes to 30 cents, 40%, and 20%. Anyways, so for the majority of the day, 9:30 a.m. to 3:35, these are the halt bands. So today, MIRA fell into this threshold because let's check the price yesterday. So the price on Friday on this, if we go to our daily chart, we closed on Friday, close was 69 cents. Boom. So the halt bands today are every 15 cents. So NASDAQ halts. And if we pull up the NASDAQ website, it would take a second to, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. At least 40 halts today. And again, that's a quick count. Could be 41, could be 39, but about 40 halts today. So this thing was really difficult to trade. Having a stock halt every 15 cents is hard, and I usually honestly don't like trading them. I try to trade them as aggressively as I can during the pre-market session or after hours and avoid trading them during regular trading hours because those back-to-back halts, here's the problem. This is the situation. And well, look, if you watched my recap from earlier, you saw that I got caught in a halt going down. That was with 125 shares, so it didn't really matter. But the point is, when these halt, look at this. So this halted up right here at 370. It then resumes, which is really incredible. It resumes at 420, and the halt down level is 405, and the halt level up is 435. So you're within a 30-cent range right here, halting up and down. A $4 stock dropping 30 cents, one big sell order will drop at 30 cents. This is 1 million shares of selling. So it drops and it looks like it's going to halt down, and then it rips back up and it halts up. Okay. Then it resumes. Same thing right here. You're trading in a 30-cent range, 450 to 480. And you can only have so much volume that goes through here because the way the halts work is that if you have on the ask 480 and 480 is the halt level, then when it comes up to $4.80, nobody can buy at 480. So you've got 479 by 480. You can't buy at 480. So if you want to buy, you cannot, because the limit up, limit down level is right there, and it won't allow you to buy outside the bands. So there's nothing you can do except for sell. And so when it's halting up, you don't see any buy orders go through. You only see red orders going through the tape as people are selling at 79. Now, as long as it stays at 79 on the bid, then it'll halt. But if enough sell orders go through that it drops down to 78 or 75, then it'll resume trading. And what sometimes will happen is it'll resume trading, and it'll trade just long enough that the average price over the last 5 minutes changes, and the halt band moves up like 3 cents to like 483. And then the price, as soon as buyers come in, will pin it right up to 483. And again, you're in that same kind of situation. So we often get this chasing of halt levels. That's not what happened right here in these two examples. These two examples, the stock was only resumed trading for like 30 seconds. It didn't resume trading long enough for the halt bands, for the halt prices to move up, right? So you could see right here, this was the duration right there. And actually, yeah, that's interesting. So did it actually ended up halting down here? Looks like it halted down, and then it opened and halted down a second time, and then it opened down here at 410 and halted up at 440, 30 cents up, right? So these halt bands are so tight. Imagine actually trying to trade this stock in these really narrow ranges. No doubt it's very, very difficult, because you might get in and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm in the driver's seat here. I know what I'm doing. And let's say like right in this area, for instance, you know, you buy, you're like, okay, I'm good. And then boom, all of a sudden halted down. Uh-oh, I'm stuck, right? Or what happened in this area here, let's see. This was around noontime right here, where we had this squeeze up and then this big halt down. So now that we've covered the challenge of trading around halt levels, and this was just halting back to back to back to today, I want to talk about this big seller. So this morning, you know, I got some trades on this one, and you know, although you could say we had a little bit of ascending support kind of in this area, and maybe even a little bit of a wedge that was coming down sort of along this area here, I didn't honestly think that breaking it here at 11 was going to be that exciting, but nonetheless, it was. It ends up squeezing up, as you can see right here, to $2. Then it halts up a second time. So 2 instant halts in a row, and now we're back at the highs. Now, here's something that's really interesting. Through this area right here, let's see. Let's take our measurement tool and see if this will tell us. So I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. So through this area here, so we'll just do from here to here. So from here to here, this section, we had about 46 million shares of volume. So there's about 46 million shares of volume right here in this area during this period of consolidation. Okay. And then we break out of the consolidation. We break the top side right there. And so from the moment of the breakout, which was like right here, up to the top of the breakout, we had only 15 million shares of volume, but the stock went up 100%. And that's something that I think a lot of traders struggle to get their head around. Why would a stock trade sideways here on such high volume, and then by the time it moves, the relative volume on the move, so it's like this is sideways action, 45 million shares here, and then finally we break out and it's on only 15 million shares of volume. How can that happen? Now, of course, one factor is that the consolidation period was a longer period of time, but you had a long period of sideways consolidation, And during that period, there were shorts that were adding and adding and adding. And there were longs that were adding too. So people were able to accumulate large positions. It's a lot easier to accumulate a large position during sideways consolidation. When the price is moving really, really fast, it's hard to dump a stock when it's dropping really fast. And it's hard to buy a stock when it's squeezing really fast with any reasonable, like, large position, because there's just not a lot of sellers. When a stock is moving fast, people aren't selling, they're holding, right? They're like, let's ride this momentum, let's see where it goes. So this ended up squeezing up here, squeezing up here, squeezing up here. And then I think this was where I had that halt down where I was in at like $2.35. And then this was really interesting because it halted up once, it halted up a second time. Both of those halts were on decent volume, but nothing really especially outstanding compared to what we'd seen, and yet the price was all the way at new highs. We then halted down here, and I was in with 125 shares for that halt down. I had done a hotkey of 250. I sold half at 58, and then I was holding the rest, and I was in the middle of my recap. Then I finished my recap, and the price ended up opening at 250. So all of a sudden, it was halted down. It looked like it was going to reverse back down, and then it opens at like 250 and squeezes up to 280. So I was shocked about that. It sells off and then squeezes up here to 260. And I was like, wow, this is really strong. And then while it's halted, it's showing a resumption of 285. And this is where I was like, okay, we've got something that I really have to pay attention to, because it should have rejected and failed here. We had a shooting star candle. This looked like it was going to reject. And, you know, we did the false halt pop up, but then it did roll over. And then it suddenly opens higher. What's the deal with that? And then now it dipped, had a chance to drop, and it's halted up again. And now it's showing 285. This isn't letting shorts off the hook. So at that point, and this is going to show you the depth of the market right here. So at this point, this is what I was looking at. I was like, wow, okay. I'm not there. We had some big sell orders. Sorry. I'm going to back that up for a second. So we had some big sell orders on this thing, sort of in this area here from pre-market. So these were sell orders up around $2, $2.05, $2.15, big sell orders. And I didn't think we were going to break through them, but we did. We broke through them. We pushed higher. And then all of a sudden that became a 100,000 share buy order, 115,000 shares at $2. And as we started halting up and up, I wasn't really seeing any significant sellers. And then all of a sudden, I saw right here a 111,000 share buyer on the level 2. And when I saw that big buyer, I thought to myself, I think a short is going to get squeezed on this. And so I decided to go long right here for the break of 3. It ends up squeezing up, and let's see. So I got in there. It ends up squeezing up and halting up. It resumes and halts up again at 338, or right around 338. And now it's showing a resumption of around 350. It resumes from 350 and halts up a second time. And now I want to back this up. I want to show you that sell order, but I want to just back it up for a second. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's see. Basically just right here. So all of a sudden we're showing 350, 360, and I'm like, wow, okay, this thing is looking really interesting. I feel like we're going to 4. So we end up halting up, and we're showing a 390 resumption. And then all of a sudden I zoomed out my view a little bit more, and I saw this seller right here. This big sell order, this is a heat map that shows orders that were placed on the level 2. You know how big that order was? 885,000 shares. That has got to be one of the biggest orders I've seen in the level 2 in a long time. So there's a seller of 885,000 shares at $4.70. And I thought, my gosh, that is a massive position. So once I realized it was there, I thought, all right, well, I hadn't seen it before because I'd been too zoomed in. This is one of the problems with level 2. You've got the level 2, but you really only see generally as far as you're zoomed out. So, or scrolled out. So if you're kind of keep your box kind of tight like this, you're not going to be able to see it. Whereas if you zoom it way out and add a scroll bar, you could start going down and seeing some of these really big orders. So I didn't see that huge seller until all of a sudden we were up here and halted. And so then I was like, okay, well, it's at 370 or 470. So I kind of thought that might become a bit of a target. Like we would squeeze up to 470, 480, right to that level of resistance, because that now became like obvious resistance. And then you know what happened? While the stock was halted, in real time, I watched this happen. This sell order got cut in half and turned into 425,000 shares. And this new order appeared right here for 425,000 shares. So all of a sudden right here, we have a new sell order. It's actually showing right now 885,000 shares, but now I'm curious about, okay, I remember what happened. So what happened is initially the order was for 425,000 shares, and then this order up here at 470 got canceled completely. So when it became a 400,000 share seller right there on the level 2, and this was, you could see it on the level 2 as well, at 390 or $4 right there, all of a sudden the resumption price changed. It changed really fast. So let me show you what happened. So now we're going to look back on the chart. So this was right here. While it was halted, I said, uh-oh, guys, hold up. That sell order just moved from 470 down to 390. And I was still holding 1,000 shares from my position. So I was like, this is going to be a little bit of a problem here. So as that seller changed their order, the resumption quotes started to drop. But we only had like 10 seconds left. So as soon as we resumed, I sold. I hit the sell button and I was out at like 365. So I sold right here and it ended up halting down. And it was showing a resumption of like $2.20. It ended up being halted for a long time, finally resuming down here at 280 and then squeezing and halting up, opening higher, dipping down. And then it just sold off more. And part of the reason was because now they canceled the rest of their order and became one giant order right here for almost 1 million shares at 390 on the ask. So now you've got 1 million share seller at 390. So at this point, the stock sells off. And then guess what? They move their order down. They move it down to 360. So they push their order down. Now, if you were watching the level 2, and you had it scrolled out, you would have been able to see these orders right on your level 2. So all of these orders are on your level 2 if you have it scrolled out far enough. So you could see them right there. This heat map does something a little bit different, which it allows you to look back and see where those orders were during the day. Because there's not really another way to visualize level 2 like after it happens. But this actually kind of prints level 2 in almost like a chart. So anyway, so this is a tool that I pay some money for and I can see it. So anyway, so we've got that sell order there. We've got the sell order here. And then they move their sell order down to 360. Okay. Now what's interesting is all of a sudden, so we have this long stretch here where we're consolidating right underneath this level. There's that huge sell order, and it keeps coming up to it and coming back down and coming up and coming back down and coming up and coming back down and up and then back down. And then right here, there was 694,000 shares of volume, and the seller breaks. The wall finally comes down, and the stock immediately squeezes, and this was right here. It halts up. It halts up at 371 and showing a $4 resumption, 450 resumption. It ends up resuming at 420 and instantly halting up a second time. And then it resumes and it halts up a third time right here. And then it drops and halts down again. So 2 halts down. It bounces off of 4. It rips up. It halts right here at 501. And then into after hours, we resume. So we resume after hours at 501. We dip down here. Then we ripped up to 501, 515. I got out at 517. It goes up to 530, 548. And I'm thinking, are we going to break through 550 and to go to 6? And then it rolls over. So now we're coming back down. Wow. What an epic move. Unreal. Absolutely crazy. And here's the thing. If you were short on this through this area, Like, let's say you got short in here and then you kind of added to it here and you were adding here and covering maybe a little bit here and then adding back and kind of waiting for it just to kind of unwind. It didn't. And then all of a sudden it's halted up and it basically goes from $3.40. So it's, again, let's measure the volume on this. It goes from $3.40 to a high of 540 on 8 million shares of volume. And the total volume on this today is 150 million shares. So the final, like, it basically doubled. I mean, it didn't quite double. It went from 350 to 550, but it went up like 80%. And it did it on only 8% of the volume on the day. It was almost like the biggest move of the day on only 8% of the volume. The majority of the volume on this was buying and selling, accumulation, distribution during periods of consolidation. And then a couple of really big pushes. So this was intense. And, I really kind of battled with the question of, should I come back and trade it? Should I not? And so I did, and I was happy with the way I traded it. I took, I took the risk. I knew there was risk involved with trading, even though I had already given back quite a bit. And I said, I feel like today's the day to dig deep. And I asked myself, can you be calm, cool, and collected right now? Can you control yourself? Can you trade with a respectful amount of share size where you're not going to make a huge mistake and suddenly become emotionally compromised? Because the whole purpose of the rules that I have are about maintaining a strong emotional state of mind. Someone posted in a comment yesterday on YouTube. They said, Ross, it's a lot easier to take a small red day with grace when you're up 88,000 on the month. I get it. But how can you fake that mindset even if you're not in it? Because that's all about mindset. I'm in a mindset, a headspace where I can shake off a small loss. Even being down 1,500 today, I'd be able to be like, whatever, it's no big deal, right? Because I've had such a good month. But more important than anything, it's like you could say, oh, the only reason you're like that is because of the amount of money you've made. And I would argue that if you can find a way to, it's like fake it in your brain. So you put yourself in the brain space of someone else who's in that really successful position. Can you fake it till you make it to your brain, where your brain actually is thinking like, I'm good, I'm totally good? Because then you're going to trade calm, cool, and collected. So how do you do that? I think the way to do it is to have a track record of metrics where you can look back on those metrics and know, I know what I'm doing. I've got confidence. And the only way you get that confidence is by building that track record, and you should do it in a simulator. So if you don't have that track record at all, then it is a lot easier to get very emotional because it's like every day is touch and go. Am I going to make it? Am I going to fail? Big winner, big loser. And that's not having a real strategy. That's not having a system you can depend on to make a livelihood out of. So you've got to learn a system, learn a strategy, practice it in the simulator, build that track record, develop that self-confidence, develop your own educated intuition. And then when you go live, anytime you have a red day, all you have to do is look back at your track record. And then what you're going to realize is that I've already got this thing in the bag. All I've got to do is keep my head down and stay focused. Okay, so I had a red day yesterday. I lost 5,000. I lost 50 grand. I lost 300 grand. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the strategy, you've got the set of rules and the track record prior to that day, you can recover it. And I know. I lost $300,000 in one day once, right? That was the worst day of my entire career. And it was on my birthday. So not that that really matters, but it's just a really bad day. So I recovered from that. At that time, percentage-wise, it was a big loss. It was a big dollar amount. It was upsetting. It was embarrassing. But I went back to my metrics and I knew that I could recover because I was still the same trader. A trader who does not recover from a loss like that is failing not because they don't have a strategy, but because they've allowed emotions to override and become the dominant driving force. I've seen this happen to other traders. I've seen traders who have had a period of success and then it's like they get shaken. They have a big loss. They get shaken and they kind of lose their confidence. They lose their self-confidence and then they start to downward spiral. The thing that I've seen here for just like, sort of like, for instance, is a trader who, generally is having upward, trends, a little drawdown, a little drawdown, but then they have this one big drop like this, which look, I've had that happen too. And they start to recover and then boom, another one. Now, the cause of the first one almost definitely was emotion. The cause of the second one is also almost definitely emotion. The problem is they thought they were good, but nope, they were not good. They were still really all tied up in the emotion from this loss, trying to make it back as quick as they can. And they could have this happen yet again. It won't be until they are unburdened by what has been that they can think about what will be. So the thing is, you have to, I get a kick out of myself here. You've got to be able to let go of these losses though, for real, because when you could just keep holding on to them, you won't be able to move forward. And so anyways, the whole system of rules that I have, a lot of it is about trying to maintain this really healthy headspace, because you do have to work to maintain that. So I try to make sure I'm avoiding potential triggers. I don't want to set myself off and then suddenly have a spiral and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And then I'm having to deal with the big emotions. Now, I can deal with them, but I'd rather not, right? I'd rather avoid having a huge loss if I can help it, because it's not fun. It's stressful. It's upsetting. So I have found for myself that once I give back half my profit on the day, I'm more apt to be looking at the glass half empty. I just had this and now all I've got is that. And I want to get it back to full. And I'm often willing to take more risk to do it than if I had just gone from empty to that level of profit. And a great example is the fact that this morning, when we were looking at my P&L, this morning, I started the day down, $2,000. I went down 2,000. I rallied back up to 3,700, 3,700 right here. And I could have walked away, but I kept trading. I got up to 6,500 and then I dropped back down to 3,700. And when I was back at the same exact amount, how do you think I felt? Here, I felt on top of the world. You're a hero. Look at you. From zero to hero, big recovery. Here, I felt kind of like an idiot. I was up $6,500. I broke my daily goal. What's wrong with me? So here, happy. Here, sad. Same dollar amount. It's the emotion that comes with the recovery and being in green versus giving back the profit. So I just knew here that if I gave back much more, that those emotions would become even bigger. You might even see a little tear right here. So I was like, I just have to manage this so I don't end up making a big mistake. And then, as it turned out, there was something that was as obvious and as plain as day, as far as I was concerned, that warranted taking the risk. And it was a risk both in dollar amount, but it was also a risk in terms of, risking that I could have a loss and that it could affect my emotional composure. And so the way I mitigated that was I took smaller size for the trade over 3. And then I ended up being comfortable holding it for like 50 cents a share or whatever it was, all as it kept going higher, because I was like, well, it's a smaller position. I don't feel like I've got to, even if it does halt down, after 2 halts up, I was like, I'm in the driver's seat on this thing. But it wasn't until, and then of course, when I saw that big seller, that's when I was like, okay, we've got a problem. And when they canceled the order and moved half of it, that was the end. So right there with that order, the sentiment that communicated right here was like someone wants to dump 400,000 shares. And then they left their order right there at 370, right? And it was like, this is just that absorption right underneath that level. So that person sold. Their shares are gone. And when we look at the level 2 now, it's after hours. And also that order wasn't there until exactly 9:30. It was right at 9:30 that order appeared. So I don't know who that was. I'm not sure if we'll find out. It's possible that we could see, a headline on this of, someone exercising warrants. It's possible we could see, some type of offering headline. I'm not sure if we will. In a way, I kind of hope we don't. Um, but someone obviously sold. I didn't actually check this to see what the level of institutional ownership was, but that would be just out of curiosity. Let's see. So I have a couple different tools that I use up here. So Mira, MIRA. Oh, so it's only 4% institutional ownership. That's really low. Insider owned 34%. So 34% is not nothing. So it could have been an insider selling. Insider selling is a little, the company has great news that's just come out. So, we don't usually, you've got some companies that have a lot of insider ownership that they don't sell. The company doesn't want to sell. But based on pre-IPO warrants, so they had 1 million at exercise price of 5. So, those were in the money today. Only just barely though. Just pull this up here. So, I don't know. It is interesting. There's another 700,000 shares of warrants at $2. So those are still open. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Look, if we get a headline, we'll see it, later today or tomorrow. And if we don't, then I guess it wasn't a seller that warrants some type of news filing. Although there is a period of days before they're required, have to file. Anyways, we'll find out. Nonetheless, I think it's safe to say that we had some action today. Mira up 695% at its peak. CMAX hit a high of almost 300%. This one had no news, which was kind of unreal. So I saw no news on that, but it made a big move. So I think it's safe to say the market's still pretty hot. And, we're going to have some days that are hotter and colder. I'm up 6,000, which is a little over the daily goal. It's not like a home run day. I didn't kill it, crush it, but, solid green day. Content with that to start the week and making progress towards my $100,000 goal for the month of July here. So from 86 up to 93,000 roughly. So right around $93,000 on the month. So a couple more green days. That should put me over the 100K mark. And we've still got, 5, 6, 7 days left in the month. All right. So I'm ahead of the game here, which means in the marathon mentality, all I need to do is pace myself because I've got this in the bag. I just need to stay focused. I just need to prevent myself from having any big spirals. And I can, if I can just hold it together, I don't need to have big green days. I could just average $1,000 a day for the next 5 days, 6 days, right? That would be 7 days, whatever. That would do it. So, just something to be mindful of depending on where you're at in the month. It's always good to get yourself into a place where all you have to do is just kind of, maintain. And I think that's on the one hand, it is good to push yourself and to strive to do better and better. But on the other hand, especially as a beginner, sim trade and then go live. And when you're trading live, get to that place where it's I'm just going to lock this up easy. Just catch that first trade, second trade, 2 trades a day, and then back to sim for the rest of the day. Because again, it's so important to build that track record because confidence, that's what it's all about, building confidence. Because once you've got that, then the sky is the limit. All right. So thanks you guys for tuning in. I will have links, by the way, in the description for 2-week trial warrior trading. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up. I hope you subscribe to the channel. And I'll remind you, as always, that, hey, trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So manage your risk, take it slow. And I can't wait to be back down here in my office bright and early tomorrow morning. I'll be live streaming for Warrior Pro members. So come on over and join us for the next 2 weeks with a 2-week trial. And I'll see you in the chat room bright and early tomorrow morning. Okay, see you guys in the morning.